Hey everybody, this is Mark Bizzata, and today we are talking about building our knowledge of text, specifically taking a look at text types. Now there's a few different ways that we can think about classifications of text types. For example, from a very general perspective, a lot of times we talk about text types in three different categories: narrative, informative, and argumentative or opinion. Another way that we can look at it in a little bit more specific approach is to take a look at 9 different categories. These categories include narrative, recount, discussion, procedure, response, explanation, description, exposition, and information report. The important takeaway about understanding these different text types is that each has different language features and usually different ways that they are organized based off the type of text that we're looking at. So let's just take, for example, a procedural text type. Now, this is a text that we're going to see a lot in math or science or career and technical education disciplines. So a couple of examples of this text type would be a how-to video or a recipe. Now, in a procedural text, we're going to expect certain things like a command sentence structure, technical jargon, and specific references to amounts, times, and places. For an organization, most procedural texts start with some sort of opening to overview the process. Usually they have a list of materials and equipment needed. And then, of course, the crux of it is that step-by-step process. Finally, there might be some sort of short conclusion that sums up the process or offers some sort of tips. So I'm going to read a procedural text differently than, say, a narrative text like a novel. For example, if I'm going to read a Harry Potter novel, I might not be so concerned if I'm a little bit confused in the beginning.
I'm so confused!
Because I know that in narrative text, a lot of times I might be jumping into the middle of a story, and I've got some faith that the author will at some point eventually get me caught up. On the other hand, if I'm reading a repair manual for my car and I get confused, that's going to be a problem. And I'm definitely going to want to use some techniques to be able to clarify my understanding, and that could include things like slowing down my reading. I might reread a step, or perhaps I would need to look up some of the technical jargon that the author is using to make sure I know exactly what he or she is expecting me to do in that step. If I don't, then I know that this is going to cause me a lot of problems later on as I continue with the steps. So, for example, one strategy that I could use with a procedural text would be to first read over the entire text. Usually they're relatively short. Then I would read each section again, stopping after each part to do what's said in that particular part. Of course, this strategy wouldn't work very well with other text types like description or information reports. As you can see, being able to identify different text types, typical characteristics of the different types, and strategies for reading these different text types will definitely be helpful when making meaning about what you are reading. Thanks for joining us. If you thought the video was helpful, hit that like button, share it with a friend. Go ahead and add your comments below, or you can always join us at thelearningframework.com for more resources and videos.